listening to the wind of change.
Hi guys, welcome to Truth Talkin Thursday. This is Jim, and I'm Jane. So Jim and I were just having a little chat here, and Jim brought up an interesting quote that he saw today. Change is inevitable. Growth is not. And we continued to talk a little bit, but I was just stuck on that change thing. So here we go. I think the change is inevitable. It's pretty self-explanatory. Change happens. It happens all around us. We live in a part of the world where even the seasons change. We have 4 seasons: spring, summer, fall, and winter. And the other part of change that seems most obvious to me is that we're resistant to it. I don't know of one person that readily welcomes change. Do you?
Actually, I do.
Do you? Cool.
I do often enough.
So tell me about somebody like that.
Tell you about somebody like that?
Yeah. Are you like that? Do you like change?
Yeah.
Do
Well,
you?
it's not that I like change, but I don't fight change. It's going to happen anyway.
Did you used to? Was this something you learned, or have you always been fascinated by change?
Change has always been interesting to me because it brings something new.
That's the interesting part of it?
Yeah, it's something new. I wonder what's going to happen now. You know?
Most people fear change, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I was just going to say that, and I think that's the big problem is people. Lots of folks, not everybody, but lots of folks see change as a problem, as oh my goodness, here it goes, it's going to happen, and a lot of people tend to view change as a very negative experience. They don't see the opposite to it.
So is that because people like to control things?
I think it's because they have to change what they're doing, and they're really comfortable doing what they're doing, and they don't want to change it, and they don't know what they would change that into.
But why are they comfortable? Like I'm picking this apart because I think
that's
I
fine.
don't like change, but I don't know why. Because I do value what you said. There are times when I can be excited about, well, I wonder what's going to happen now.
Absolutely. So what is it that keeps you from seeing it like that all the time? I mean,
I would say I have blinders on.
Well, there's something about change that frightens people. There's something about change that's, oh no, what's going to happen now? I just got used to it. I just got over that crisis. Now another one's going, and it just one after another thing, and folks would rather not have to go through change and get used to doing things differently again. They would just assume, no matter how bad it is. How many people stay in relationships, for instance, where it's really awful, and yet the whole idea of going and changing that and starting fresh and all that, for some folks, is really traumatic, and they would rather stay in where they are because at least they know it's predictable. They know what it's going to be like the next day and the next day and the next day.
Or they have the fear that it could be worse.
It could be worse.
I remember my mother saying that. Well, it could be worse. It could be worse.
Absolutely.
It could be worse. And you know what? That's a very true statement. It seems like there could always be things that are worse.
Oh, yeah. But it could be better.
But there could also be things that are better. And we forget, like for me, I think I forget that part. Like I think I'm way too easily swayed by saying like, that almost seems like a gamble to me.
I think we get tired of changing. We get tired of looking for the kind of the rainbow, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It's not going to happen to me, or it's not going to happen to us, or good things happen out of change for other people, but I always seem to get stuck. And it's like almost like a victimhood stance,
Yeah.
Nothing good is ever going to happen to me, and now I've got to change again, and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And when we enter into that whole process, that change process, which is inevitable, and we cannot change it probably from what's going to happen. I mean, if you have a flat tire in your car, the tire's flat. And
only on the bottom.
If you're only on the bottom, but if you're going to be late for work because the tire's flat and your boss is going to fire you or something, there's nothing you can do to change the tire being flat.
Correct.
Now it's kind of a simplistic analogy, but nonetheless, I think it's very true.
It's easier said than done not to worry about it.
Because, it is.
I mean,
it takes work.
Sure, and if you're in a position where you can't, it's not a good thing to be fired from your job and have no income, that's a lot of stress.
So how many of us accept or find ourselves in situations where we say, oh, here we go again. And automatically, I mean, if we put out those kind of negative vibes and stuff like that, you're going to get negativity back. So if it's a matter of, well, I'm not really happy that this is happening, but at the same time, maybe we can make something out of it that's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Or there's absolutely no evidence that's going to suggest to me, unless I do something silly or foolish, that this is going to be a horrible experience.
Yeah.
Unless I make it a horrible experience. So the point, I guess, to the whole thing is change is change. It's inevitable. We can grow from it. We can adapt to it, but it gives us a new chance that we wouldn't have had otherwise to make something better happen. The worst thing that's going to happen is it'll probably stay the same as it was.
Exactly.
And if that's the worst thing that's going to happen, then what do we got to lose?
What's the big deal? Exactly. Exactly.
So for me, it's a mindset. For me, it's a way of looking at things. Like you talk about a lot. You talk about that mindfulness, and you talk about being prepared, and you talk about being organized, and you talk about taking responsibility for things and all that. That's all this is.
True mindfulness, though, happens in your own head.
Exactly.
And I think that's where a lot of us maybe aren't aware as, I was going to say as we should be. I'll change that to say as we could be of mindfulness.
Adapting takes place in your head first as well.
It does.
It starts here before it starts out there.
True mindfulness is your own thoughts. You can kind of lump all of those things into that same pot. Change, expectations, all of those things are negative. It's kind of like, the saying, you're innocent until proven guilty. Mm-hmm. When you resist, you're actually saying you're guilty until proven innocent.
That's right.
Which is the total opposite.
Yes.
Like, you don't just decide something is bad before you even know if it's bad.
What's one of the big factors involved in finding it difficult to assume a positive thing about change? Fear.
Yeah.
We fear fear the outcome. We fear what's coming. And it's an acronym. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Fear. False evidence.
Yes. And there's other ones too. Yeah. Something, is it face everything and run or something? Like somebody made a joke out of it and made all these different ones, and I was like, "Oh, that's so funny because that's what we do. Like we fear or face everything and run away from it before we even know if there's anything to be scared of. But in our heads, we're like, ah!
Yeah. And so we don't stop long enough to check out the evidence. Is what I'm fearing here, is there any evidence to prove that that's what's going to happen?
Exactly.
Well, no, because it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So it's all of those kind of things, and relationships are very much the same as that. Why do people stay in a bad relationship?
Yeah. The great thing about change, in my mind, comes down to some of the things that we've said before. Every decision we make can always be changed. Every thought we have can always be changed. Every idea, every goal, every dream, nothing is cast in stone. And even if we make a mistake, there's always a way through it. Mm-hmm. It's not the end of the world. Just back up, take another run at it. Whatever.
Crap happens.
Exactly. And I think that if we can, like Jim said, put a positive spin on change, it helps us as people to move forward, to grow, to be present, to be mindful, and everything seems to fall into place.
Well said. And I really do honestly believe that we can influence change to some degree, to a big degree, and if we can do that, then why wouldn't we do that? Instead of fearing it, take a look at it and say, what can I make out of this?
One step at a time.
Yes, yeah. It doesn't have to be awful.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It can be a challenge. It's all in how we look at it.
Yeah. And if you never know, you might even have some fun along the way.
That's a fact. It really is. And fun is always good.
It is.
So have a great week, everybody.
Thanks for stopping by.